Hello, welcome to the Sigma Made Simple channel. This channel is dedicated to explaining the principles of Lean Sigma and Six Sigma to anyone with little or no knowledge but wish to make improvements to a measurable process. My name is Dennis Wells, and I was learning about these tools even before I was certified in 2008 as a Six Sigma Black Belt and a Lean Sigma Green Belt in 2009. I've I have continued to learn about these tools as I believe in their power when applied properly. That is what I hope to show you on this channel. This is the fifth video in a series which takes you on a journey from finding opportunities to running a Lean Sigma or Six Sigma project and completing these projects for maximum impact. You should begin with the first video posted on the channel and watch them in order so you have a better understanding of the processes shown. For this video, we'll review a project where the Lean Sigma tool 5S was chosen as a solution. You may recognize this project charter from a previous video. Normally, you never jump to a solution just to see if it works. In this case, manufacturing personnel requested a project to reduce the 20 minutes per day they spent on average looking for tools. 5S is a tool which can do this and do it very well. So 5S is not always considered, but we'll get into that in a later video. In this case, we had 72 workstations shared by 50 people across 2 shifts. The area did small volume production, but also did prototypes and testing for design. This is ideal since there were so many people coming and going in the area, and sometimes tools would walk off and return after a day or two or a few hours. Here's what you need to do in the project charter to complete the project. So we had this in here before, but when we went through our goals and our counterbalance, we identified some more people that we needed. So we added a site safety engineer, that's Cal, and he's going to be reviewing the ergonomics for the tables that we set up, the workstations we set up. We have a quality engineer because we don't want to negatively affect the quality of the product. Mike is going to do that for us. We have a stakeholder. The stakeholder is the person who's most likely impacted by the project in the end. And as you can see, Chris is the manager of all the people in the area. So he's a great stakeholder. Since his people are going to be affected by it, we want to make sure that Chris is happy with it. Then we've got Will. Will P is the champion. Now the champion is the person that is that everybody above reports to eventually. So if you notice, Chris reports to Will, Mike reports to Will, Cal reports to Will, and over here, Sophie reports to Chris, who reports to Will. Steve reports to Will. So everybody in here is either directly under Will or under somebody under Will. Now, that helps when you have priority issues. Will can say, since everybody works for him, he can say, all right, you guys, I want you to work on this, or we're going to put a stop or put a hold on this. Will could also say, I need you to support this project. Okay, Chris, you're going to be the stakeholder here. Mike, you're the quality engineer. You're going to do these things to help the project. Since everybody reports to him, he's basically the buck stops there. We go on to the next section here, and I'm just going to read these really quickly. All 7 lines in the widgets area for a total of 72 workstations are in scope. Out of scope are the molding and the extruder areas. The problem statement has not been updated. It was pretty accurate. All 50 operators report that an average 20 minutes per day is spent looking for tools. This amounts to more than $320,000 in lost labor. The goal, implement 5S by June 30th. Today is June 30th, and he's giving the report on a completion. So we hit that goal. Reduce the labor costs of 20 minutes per day to less than 5 minutes per day. We'll show you how you did that in a little bit. Cost benefit, reducing to less than 5 minutes per day would recover 15 minutes per day of lost labor. And this hasn't changed since we went into the active phase. Summary results. This is new. We filled this out because we're completing the project. And basically, it's just a few bullet items. Most important first, the recovered lost labor costs are more than $242,000 per year. The cost to implement was $3,100 in materials and 95 labor hours. And then you also want to list anything that you created, document 100100789 Rev A was created. All personnel in the area were trained to it. Form A was created for the audit. All personnel who are not assigned to the area but wish to work in the area will be trained. Next bullet. Ergonomic assessments were reviewed by the site safety engineer to ensure they were not negatively impacted. And lastly, the quality of products was tracked by a quality engineer and was not impacted. Counterbalance. Do not put in place. These did not change since the last time that we took this from fact finding to active. So we're just going to move on. The current state was there is no process for controlling the availability or placement of equipment, hand tools, fixtures, or consumables. The proposed state was to create a document which will be used to control the 5S processes. Each workstation will have a pegboard mounted on the back of the table in a vertical position. Now, what you do here is at some point when you go to active, you'll start putting notes in this area. And all these notes will be used to create the document, and the document will be reviewed and then probably modified, and then you will release it and train everybody. So next one is all hand tools needed for processes being completed at the workstation will have a place on a pegboard with a shadow on the board to highlight when it is missing. You can see there's a wrench here. There'll be a black shadow on here, and then the hammer will have a black shadow. And then you also have a workstation number. Okay. The tabletop of the workstation will have an outline of the following to note where they are placed at the end of the shift and highlight if they are missing. Operators may move the items to suit their personal preference, like right-handed or left-handed operators. So all the equipment, materials, consumables. And here's the pegboard mounted on the back. So when you're done at the end of the day, you put one fixture here, one fixture there. The water bottle goes here. If you have Kleenexes or whatever, cleaning materials, they go there and the equipment goes there. So it says at the end of the day, items will be in a taped box. During the day, they may be moved by the user. We decided to allow that for people just because it's people like to work a little bit differently. We don't want to hamper anybody's process or personal preference. So a review of the ergonomic assessments will be made. Of course, we did that. When an operator arrives at a workstation, they check to ensure all tools are present on the pegboard and workstation. If all tools are present, then they go to work. If a tool is not present, but they can still work, they report the missing tool to the line lead, then the line lead will contact a technician who will supply a temporary tool. The line lead will also alert others in the area to be on the lookout for that tool. Now you didn't notice it, but earlier the tools were also color-coded and numbered. So if it's on a black, or I'm sorry, if it's on a pegboard with a black shadow, you have a black background on a tool. You paint a bit of black on there, and you put the number of the workstation. So like the hammer would have a painted black area with 001. So then you know if you find that tool somewhere that goes to the line or the area that uses a black shadow, and it's the first or the number one pegboard. And you can number the pegboards from 1 to 10, however many workstations you've got. So if a tool is present and they cannot work, then they will alert the line lead, and then they will seek a spare from the technician. Each of these things is expected to be less than 10 seconds to make sure everything is there and start working, 30 seconds if you have to tell your line lead, and up to a minute if you have to go and to the technician and get a spare tool. When the operator leaves a workstation, they will put tools on a pegboard and all equipment, fixtures, consumables, and shadow belonging to that item. So you basically put everything back where it is so that the next person can see that everything is there that they need. We expect that to take less than 1 minute at the end of the shift. If any tools are missing, they will spend no more than 5 minutes for searching for the tool while at the same time alerting the line lead and technician so a spare can be put on the board for the next shift. That's no more than 5 minutes. And that will happen in the beginning a couple times, but once people get used to it, it'll stop occurring so much. When we implemented this, it occurred a couple times a week for a few weeks, and then it stopped occurring at all after about a month. So originally we had this once per week, the engineer and one line lead will audit the area. But when we talked to the manager of the area, he's like, I don't want to do that. I want to do it myself, and I only want to do it once a month. I put this in here because I wanted to show you that this is a living document, and you can make changes to it until you get everything ready for releasing the document here. So what we decided was if the score on the 5S is 3 or above for 3 consecutive weeks, we switch to a monthly audit. If any month has any of the 5S's drop below a 3, we will go back to weekly audits until 3 in a row are above 3. So we're kind of gauging it. If we're being successful, we don't have to look at it as often. A spider graph will be updated, printed, and displayed on all doors entering and exiting the area so that everybody knows that we have a 5S process and how we're doing with it. The control phase. Controls used to ensure the actions taken stay in place. What we're using here is a 5S spider graph. Anyone in the area is subject to the audit. This includes engineers, technicians, operators, anyone from this area or other areas who touch any items assigned to the workstation. Who's excluded are persons on tours or who are giving tours, customers, vendors that are visiting. They're all excluded from this as long as they are accompanied by a person who has been trained on the 5S system. So 9, a spider graph of the 5S's will be created and updated per this document. It'll be updated weekly. We already talked about that. We're just reiterating what our priorities are here. The score will be an average of the last 3 evaluations. That's another thing that we added because we didn't want to have whole numbers. We wanted to have fractions to get a little bit better granularity. The area manager and engineer will do the audit. The following will take place in the audit. 5 random workstations where an operator is working will be evaluated. Each passing result will add 1 point to the score for each area. For sort, 5 workstations worth 1 point per workstation for a total of 5 points possible. We'll look at the workstation, see if there's any items missing, or if there are any items on the workstation that they do not need or do not have a home, excluding, of course, personal items from the operator. We will allow them personal items. If all items are present and there are no other items, then the result is a yes, and the sort has 1 point so far. If there are items missing, the operator the operator has reported them missing, then sort gets 1 point added as well because they followed the process. If there are items missing and the operator has not reported the missing item, they do not get a point. If there are items the operator needs, but they do not have a place on the pegboard or workstation, the engineer will note this and plan to have the tools added to the workstation. There will be no point given. You repeat this 5 times for 5 different workstations. You can get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 0 points, depending on how successful you are. You do the same thing for set and order, 5 operators. You ask them, this is verbal, ask them, what would you do if you were missing an item? If they give you the correct response, you get a point in that area, in that category. If they do not give you the correct response, they do not get a point for that area. You repeat that 4 times for a total of 5. You can get anywhere between 0 and 5 points. So for Shine, it's the same thing. If the workstation floor around it is clean and all items are serviceable and clean, dry, and serviceable, then 1 point is added to the Shine score. You do this for 5 different workstations. You can have anywhere from 0 to 5 points. Standardize. 5 workstations worth 1 point per workstation. Ask the operator if they are trained to the proper document and if they know where it is located. If they are trained and know where the document is located, that adds 1 point to the score. If the operator is not trained or does not know where the document is located, no point is given. Again, repeat that. You can get anywhere from 0 points to 5 points. And lastly, sustain. Does the operator know what to do when they first arrive at a workstation and when they leave a workstation? And they should tell you, they make sure that all the equipment, tooling, and everything is there when they arrive. And then when they leave, they make sure everything is in place when they leave. If they say that, they get a point. If they say anything extra, don't worry about it, but they have to say those two things. If they don't say both of those things, or if you have to prompt them, no point is given. Then you fill out the assessment tab. Uh, I'm going to show you that in a moment. So this is Form A of 100100789, and you can see here we did an assessment on the 3rd of March, and this is what we got for scores. Not so great. We did an assessment on the 10th, and for each workstation we put a yes or a no in here. If they passed or they did not pass, we got a little bit better scores, and then we just keep going. The next assessment we filled out was we put it up here. And then in a week's time for the next assessment, we'll just overwrite the data here, put the new date, new answers. And what that does is that gives you an average for each week. It gives you actually gives you the score for that week, but then it gives you the average score because we said we're going to use the last 3 weeks. So you just keep rotating through these 3 areas. And here's the result. So for sort, right now they're trending at 2.67, which is in the red. Shine is not quite a 3. So we'll continue doing this weekly until all of them are above a 3. And when all of them are above a 3, we'll switch to a monthly. So that's what we are generating. This document captures most of the things that will go into the document that's generated for training, not everything. And then as you go and make changes to that new document 100100789, you'll change the revision and then you retrain everybody. So one of the other things you want to collect is, what was your data collection method? How do you know what goes on the boards, or who should be involved or anything like that? And basically we're going to put in here something very simple, because we met with the operators who regularly work at each workstation, and we took their advice on what items need to be included, where, and how they should be placed on a workstation. And then one of the other things is we had safety engineers. They were used to review the ergonomic assessments. And then lastly, we had quality engineers, and they ensured the quality of the product was not impacted. So here's our EIC tool. We just completed this project. We're not going to update anything other than we're going to make sure that there's a link, a hyperlink to the document in here. And then we're going to take this active status and then we're going to put it into complete. The nice thing about that is now what you can do, I'm going to make this bigger, go to the ellipse. And then what we can do is we can do a data and then a filter. And then what we can say is we don't want to see anything completed now, because we don't need to see it right now. But and at the end of the year, what we'll do is we'll hide everything except for the completed. Then we can report to management how successful we've been. So once you've completed that, you can go to the next third one, or whichever one you've got resources for, and you can change that one as well to fact, and then assign it to somebody and move forward with that. Just keep rotating down until you complete all of your projects. So we've showed you how to complete a project using the EIC tool and what you need to do in a project charter to complete it, and then also how you can hide it so that later on, so it doesn't get in the way when you're sorting for new projects. Also, how you can find those projects that you completed in the last year to report to management. So the next video will show you how to take opportunities from the fact phase to the inactive phase. There is a way to wrap up a project for later activity. It will show you the benefits of doing this. If you found this video useful, like it, subscribe to the channel, and share it with anyone else who may find it useful. If you didn't find this video useful, then subscribe in the hope that an upcoming video will be useful. Eventually, we will go through projects using the Lean Sigma and Six Sigma tools, as well as the tools needed to support them. Remember, a wise person learns from their mistakes, while a genius learns from the mistakes of others. So be a genius. We'll see you later.